Oh, hey there! I'm just playing my favorite NES game, Mega Man 6. It's so great. Okay, so we all know Mega Man. We can jump, shoot, can do all kinds of cool things. Get hurt. And of course, Mega Man can also die. The question is, can we make something like this in NESmaker? I mean, really, can we? Yes. Yes, we can. Here's an answer to a question no one asked. What have I been doing the last week? Well, I've been making Multi-Boy. Okay, so this is my Mega Man style game. Let's take a look at it. I have this selection screen. I haven't turned the volume off, but if I try to select this player, I can't do it. In fact, it plays an error sound, but yeah, I'll disable the audio. I can select this guy. I don't have levels for these other guys, but I do have a level for this guy. So let's see what that looks like. So here's the little guy. And then we have an enemy. Now, when I'm recording this, this will probably not show up in a correct way because I do have some flickering, sprite flickering here. But you'll probably just see like a sprite disappear or something like that. So let's see here. Let's try to get hurt. So now I'm seeing this, my character sprite flickering, and while it's flickering he's invincible, but perhaps you'll just see an invisible sprite because it doesn't show up very well on the video. But let's just try not to get hurt instead. Okay, so we have enemies, we have a player character, and we also have these spikes. Now the same thing goes for what I'm going to show you now. You won't see the flickering effect, but if I jump on these spikes now, this happens. He explodes. Now each of those sprites flicker a little bit, but like I said, you probably won't see it properly in this video. But of course you can see that there's a lot going on here. So I think we need to take a close look. I often get asked, and I know that a lot of other experienced NESmaker users also get this question: can you make this in NESmaker? Can you do that in NESmaker? And the answer to that question is usually yes. But all of these advanced things, you can't do them out of the box. So it requires that you are comfortable with assembly language. Sometimes, depending on what you're trying to do, you also need to be comfortable with the NES hardware, how that works. But most of the time, it's enough that you're comfortable with assembly programming and you know how NESmaker works. So that's basically the key to do a lot of these kinds of things. So you can do, you can do just about anything that you see in the NES games, almost. But we have to make a lot of stuff like that ourselves. Like for example, this stage select screen. Now that's not something that I can make out of the box in NESmaker. So what I'm doing here, first of all, this is an 8x8 tile screen, so it uses a lot smaller tiles. Now just in case you don't know how that works, like you can see down here, the screens look much bigger. In fact, each of these screens are basically 4 of these smaller screens combined into one. Now that sounds a little confusing, but what that really means is that instead of having 16 tiles across here, Now we have 32 tiles across, but the tiles are much smaller. They are 8 by 8 pixel tiles, which is very useful if you're going to write text like this. Or, you know, you just want to make a detailed background graphic or whatever. So the way that we set these screens up is to go to Map, Advanced Map Properties, and just check a row on your map that doesn't have any screens. So here I chose the bottom row, which is the bottom two rows, row 14 and row 15. So those are now combined into one row. Each of these screens here have these 8 by 8 pixel screens. So that's probably something you know if you watch the official tutorials. But here is my level select screen. Now it's just normal background graphics. The tile layout is double main, so I have two of these tile sets. But really, there's nothing special about how it looks. But you could see that there was an indicator. 4 dots were blinking to indicate what guy I had selected here. So that's what we're going to look at in this video. How can I make this level select screen? Well, each of those little dots that were blinking are sprites. So if I go to my pixel editor and then open my game object tiles, and we do this, the indicator is this sprite right here. That, or 4 of those actually. So what's happening is that those 4 sprites move together, and they're always blinking, and I do that by just cycling through these palettes. Maybe not the best way to do it, but at least that will make them flash. So how on earth am I doing this? How can we make this menu system? Well, actually, this is pretty similar to what we saw in a previous video, the player select screen. It's basically the same thing. But if I go to my project settings now, script settings, and I go down to game, and I go to sprite pre-draw, edit that one. And now, here's the code for the stage select screen. So this, I'm in the sprite pre-draw script now. Now this stage select code, like you can see here, it's only going to run on a screen where I have that game state. So I renamed this game state 0, 1, 2, 3. I renamed game state 3 to stage select. So this is game state 3 now. So this code is only going to run on those screens. So what am I doing here? Well, of course, I'm backing the X and the Y register to the stack here at the beginning, because I'm going to use the X register and the Y register in this code, like we can see here. Load X with a stage select X. So just to quickly explain what's going on. Like I said, there are 4 sprites here. They move together. If we look at the test game again, you can see it a little better. So here we have those 4 sprites flashing. Like I said, the reason they're flashing is because they're changing, cycling through 3 different palettes, sprite palettes. But if I press right on the D-pad now, all 4 sprites move over there. And of course, I matched the graphics up with the background graphics, so it looks like these little edges are flashing. So if I press right again, they move over there. If I press down, they go here. So it's pretty obvious from a player's point of view, but it might not be so obvious for us as programmers. What's happening is that when I press right on the keyboard now, press right on the D-pad, these sprites need to move a set distance to the right. All of these 4 sprites need to move the same distance to the right. So they end up here. When I press right again, that needs to happen again. And I also programmed something where if I press right now, nothing's going to happen. I don't want these sprites to go off screen or something like that. So, same thing if I press down, down, and press down again, we can't go further down. So there are actually several tables that keeps track of this. If I go to and also I'm using some variables as well. Let's just start with the tables. If I go to project settings, script settings, and to game here, we have extra tables. If I look at my extra tables now, here I have something called stage select positions. Now these are predefined positions on the screen. So I have positions for the X coordinate and for the Y coordinate. Now you may see something here. There's 1, 2, 3 for the X position, 1, 2, 3 for the Y position. But I have 4 sprites. Well, I don't need positions for every single sprite. I just need positions for the top left one, and based on what position that is, then I can figure out where I need to place the right sprite, and same for the bottom 2, because I know that it's going to be a few pixels to the right. If we look at the background here, I'm keeping track of this sprite, but I know that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5 tiles over. That's where I need to draw the next select cursor sprite. And that's the same for all of these. The distance between this sprite and this sprite will be the same here, 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 and here. So if I can just figure out where this sprite needs to be, the top left one here, then I can always figure out where the other 3 needs to be placed based on this sprite's position. I'll just add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll just add 5 times a small tile like this is 8 pixels. So 5 times 8, that's 40. So I'll just add 40 to the X position of this sprite. It can have the same, or it should have the same Y position as this, because they're on the same Y axis. And similarly here, I just add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 8, because a sprite tile, a small tile like this is 8 pixels. So 5 times 8 again, and then I find the Y position. Now, of course, this sprite needs to be on the same X position as this one. And this last one, I need to make that 40 pixels right and 40 pixels down. So I need to figure out those positions. It sounds complicated, but it's really simple actually. The point is that we just need to figure out where to place this top left sprite. That's what I'm using these tables for. They have the X positions and the Y positions for the top left sprite. That's all those tables have. So 3 bytes here, 3 bytes there. Then we have this other table called stage select screens. This is an important one. This table keeps track of what screen I'm going to end up at. If I select this guy, then I will warp to one screen. If I select this guy, then I will warp to another screen. I set this up as a two-dimensional table, meaning I have 3 bytes that way and I have 3 rows down. So basically it's like a two-dimensional table. And this middle one, that's 255. That's the player. So if I select the player, I get this number 255, and then I can check, no, don't warp to a screen, because this is the player character. I'm checking that by this number, 255. Right, so let's go back to the Sprite pre-draw script. Sprite pre-draw, we have it there. So, stage select X. So I have a variable for the X position and the Y position. And these two variables, X position and Y position, those just keep track of what row we're at. So this is a row and this is a column. Of course, this is something you need to adapt to your game, of course, but usually we think about rows and columns as these tile rows and tile columns. But now I just made up my own system to keep track of, are we here, are we here, are we here, or are we here? So I need to have a way to keep track of that. 1, 2, 3 columns, 1, 2, 3 rows. So that's what these variables keep track of, the X and the Y, stage select X and stage select Y. I load the X with this variable, stage select X. That's going to keep track of the the column. Are we at this column, or this column? I load the Y with stage select Y, that variable, and that's of course going to keep track of what row we're at. So I just load from my tables over here, the X position table and the Y position table. So if I'm on the top left one here, then I'll get 40 for the X position, I get 23 for the Y position. So I store those in two variables, temp A and temp B. And then I'm done with the X and Y registers. I restore back the values from the X and Y register. And then I do some stuff with the flashing here. I don't think we should spend any time on that right now. Basically, it's just a timer thing where I, instead of the sprites quickly flashing, I just wanted them to have a little slow blinking effect. But anyway, when I get down here in the Sprite pre-draw script, you can see what's actually happening. I'm just using this macro, draw sprite. And here I say, if you remember from what we did up here, we got the X position from the table here, and we got the Y position from this table here. That's the position in pixels on the screen. And I store that in temp A and temp B. So when I get down here, I just draw the sprite, the selection sprite, or the indicator sprite. What X position? Well, draw it at the X position that's in temp A that I got from the table. Same thing for temp B. What sprite? Well, I just want to draw this sprite here at 119. That's my select cursor sprite. And instead of writing a specific palette here, I have a variable, stage select cursor flash, I've called it. And the point of this flash code up here is that that's constantly changing. So that's why I'm cycling through those palettes. So basically what's happening here, I'm just drawing the first sprite. I'm drawing the sprite that needs to go here. That's the sprite I'm drawing right now. And then I say, okay, so load the X position, add 40 to the X position, because I found out that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times 8, because a tile like this is 8 pixels, 5 times 8, that's 40. So I add 40 to the X position and I store that back into temp A, because now I'm drawing the second sprite. And I'm drawing and basically do the same thing that I did up here, but the X position has changed now. It's 40 pixels further to the right. Then, so I've drawn, now I've drawn this sprite and this sprite. Now I need to draw this sprite. So in my sprite pre-draw script, I say, okay, load temp A. That keeps track of the X position. Load temp A, subtract 40, because I first I drew this one, then I drew this one. Now I'm gonna draw this one. So now I need to subtract 40 because the X position needs to go back here. So 40 down there. But in addition to that, I also need to add 40 because I drew this and drew this. So I'm subtracting 40 to get back here, but also need to add 40 for 40 pixels down here. So I just do that and then do the same thing. Just draw the sprite again with the same variables as you can see, but the contents of course have changed. The X and Y position have not changed. So I do that, and then I need to draw this last one. So I'll just say change the X position, because now we're here. So all I need to do now is go 40 pixels to the right here. So I just add 40 to whatever's in temp A. Again, that keeps track of the X position. So I'm adding 40 to that, and I'm doing the same thing again. Just drawing that sprite. So now I have drawn this one, this one, this one, and this one. So now I have 4 sprites on the screen, and because of my little blinking routine there, they're also blinking. So that's what was happening here in the sprite pre-draw script. Now stage select X, stage select Y, like I said, are variables. Of course, in order for this to make sense, so you can press the D-pad left or right, we need to make custom input scripts for that. So I have stage select cursor down. Let's look at that first. This is the input script for when I press cursor down on the menu. I load A with this variable stage select Y, and then I compare it to 2. Why do you think I'm doing that? Let's see. Because I have 0, 1, 2. I don't want to go further down than this. Like I said, I want, if I'm on the bottom row here, I don't want to be able to press down again. So here in the input script for pressing down, I say load that variable. It starts at 0, of course, but then I'm comparing to 2, branch if equal, already at the bottom. So if I'm here and I press down, then we exit this input script. But if I'm not at the bottom, if I'm, let's say I'm here, and I press down, then we go into here, and I say inc stage select y. So I increment that variable. So now it goes from, if it's up here, which was the starting position, we go from 0 to 1. So that's what I'm doing here. And I'm also playing a sound effect there. So basically my input scripts are like that. If I look at the left one, it's the same thing, but for the stage select x variable. Branch if equal, that's of course, I don't have to write compare with 0. So okay, again, right. So this was cursor left. So if I'm already at position 0 here and I press left, I don't want to go further left. So load a stage select x, compare with 0, branch if equal, we're already at the left. So we don't want to do that. But if we are over here, for example, and I press left, and I want to go to that position, so then I decrement the variable stage select x. And I do that for up, down, do that for left and right, that sort of thing. It's the same principle. As you can see, they're very simple. Just increasing, decreasing those two variables. And finally, when I select something, then this is the input script when I'm doing the selection. Here I'm backing up the X register, because here I'm loading the X register with stage select Y, that variable. Then I go to this table, stage select Y offset. So let's look at that table, stage select Y offset. It says 036. What's happening here? Stage select, that's of course there. Okay. Let's see. Stage select Y, yeah. So stage select Y, that's over here, 0, 1, 2. That keeps track of the row on the menu. So here, stage select Y offset, that table, here it says 0, 3, or 6. Now this may be a little bit confusing because we haven't really talked about this before, but when we're using 2D tables like this, basically I have 3 entries for each row here. 3 bytes here, 3 bytes there, 3 bytes there. So if I go down 1 row, if I want this, then so this is row 0, 1, 1, 1, 2. Here in this table I have 0, 1, 2. This basically tells me where I need to go in my table. So if I want to go 1 row down, if I go back to my input script, remember I'm loading the X with stage select Y, that variable. That variable is going to be 0, 1, or 2 based on what row I have. So I want to go down 1 row. Okay, I'll go down 1 row. That means that stage select Y, that variable, is now 1. And I'm loading from stage select Y offset, this table, 0, 1. Okay, so 3. Okay. Then I say add, clear carry, add stage select X. Stage select X keeps track of the column 0, 1, 2. So then I add stage select X. Now stage select X can be 0, 1, or 2. So add that and transfer that to X. This is a little complicated, but basically what we're doing here, we're working with a 2D table. So that's why I have this complicated offset thing, because for every entry here, we're going one row down on this table. From 0, 3 to 6. So we add, if we need to go down one row, we add 3. 3 again, so 0, 3 and 6. I hope that makes sense. So, and then once I go down a row, like here for example, if I get this offset 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, then I end up here, and now I need to add the offset for the X position. So 0, let's say 2, 0, 1, 2, and that's this guy. So what are these numbers here? What are these numbers? Stage select screens. So what I'm gonna end up with here, transfer A to X, because based on what I have in these tables, I get a number. And let's see. This is so confusing. I'm almost confusing myself. But basically what's happening is that once I figure out that number, I'm loading from this stage select screens, which is this one. That's what I was getting at. Sorry about this. This is so confusing. But the point is that I'm loading the screen number from this. That's what I was getting at. I'm loading the screen number from this table. And based on that 2D table system, I can find the correct screen. So for example here, the 0 here, this 0, that's screen number 0, that's this one up here. So what's happening in my input script, my select input script, is that finally I'm getting that from this table, storing it in the variable warp to screen, and I'm done working with the X register, so I restore the X register. Then I say load warp to screen. Is it 255? Because remember, 255, that's the middle one, that's the player position here, and I don't want to warp anywhere if I have this guy selected. So here in my input script, I say is it 255? Because if it is 255, play this error sound and RTS, exit this input script. But no, it's not 255. Alright, fine. Then we go down here and we continue. And I just play a sound effect to confirm and have some fading stuff going on here. But basically that's it. The main thing is that we're warping. Yeah, sorry, this adds a little complexity. I shouldn't have done it this way because I'm warping at the end of the fade. But basically, as you can see here, I'm storing what screen to warp to here in this variable warp to screen. And later when that fading stuff is done, there's a warp macro in that fading thing. And as you know, basic NESmaker stuff, let's just take a quick look. Let's look at something like the warp tile. Basically, this is something we do all the time in NESmaker. Use this macro, warp to screen, warp to map, warp to screen. So that's basic stuff, right? So as long as I put the correct screen to warp to in this variable, then that's where I'm going to warp to. Which means if I select this guy based on all that complicated table stuff, and I press the confirm script here, I store the correct screen for that in that variable, and at the end of the warp I end up here. So that was a long explanation. I hope some of it made sense. I just wanted to show you that. Now I don't want this video to be 5 hours long, so I think that's enough for this video. But I also want to show you, and I'm going to do that next time, what happens when I land on these spikes and we get this explosion effect, because that's not default NESmaker stuff. But I think that's enough for now. I hope this makes some kind of sense, but like I said, it's important to know the basics of assembly language. So that's it for now. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.